Thank you for tuning into this special edition of Chase Profits, your top choice for market updates and chart analysis.
Welcome back to Chase Profits. I wanted to step a little bit outside of the norm and discuss something here that is related to the stock market and Nike stock in particular, and talk about this in the context of LeBron James's $300 million loan that he took out when he went to the Los Angeles Lakers. While LeBron James is protected by a sophisticated network of limited liability companies and trust structures, the thing that has not been discussed from what I've seen is a worst case scenario that could still inflict severe financial devastation or personal bankruptcy for LeBron James of the Philadelphia 76ers. I wanted to go over a detailed breakdown of the risks that could potentially wipe him out personally if we talk about multiple catastrophic events occurring simultaneously, which in this current geopolitical environment and economic environment are certainly within reach and possible. Nobody's, including myself, should want this to happen, but I think somebody should bring this up just so there's a better understanding of what this loan really means in the grand scheme of things. So as I break this down, let's talk about the personal guarantee trait, or piercing the corporate veil, in other words. While the $300 million bond structure was issued via an LLC, private lenders providing that amount of capital rarely agree to zero recourse. This is not a slam dunk genius idea that is foolproof and will 100% succeed. Now, let's understand this from the standpoint of the mechanism here, where in high stakes celebrity financing, lenders frequently demand a limited personal guarantee or strict covenants tied to the personal net worth, which in this particular case, of course, would be the personal net worth of LeBron James. In a worst case scenario, if the LLC defaults because of his endorsement income, if the LLC defaults because his endorsement income vanishes, lenders can legally pierce the corporate veil that he is protected by currently, and LeBron James would end up being sued personally to recoup the remaining $245 million balance that exists at this moment, which would asset strip his personal bank accounts, real estate holdings, and or private investments. The second chapter of this breakdown has to do with the systematic cross-collateralization collapse possibility. LeBron James's wealth is highly illiquid. It's tied up in massive equity stakes like Fenway Sports Group, Liverpool FC soccer club, and the Boston Red Sox, as well as SpringHill Company. The mechanism of this chapter is that his high net worth and most high net worth individuals often use their existing equity as collateral to secure other massive lines of credit for lifestyle or business expansion. The worst case here is if the $300 million bond deal defaults and triggers cross default clauses across his entire portfolio, it would create a financial domino effect where banks would force the immediate liquidated fire sale of his sports team shares and media companies at rock bottom market prices to cover his debts, wiping out his billionaire status overnight. The third chapter here would be the total brand annihilation / moral turpitude clauses. The entire repayment structure relies heavily on his lifetime Nike contract and other blue chip endorsements. Every major corporate contract contains a moral turpitude clause. This allows brands like Nike to instantly terminate a contract without paying another cent if an athlete engages in behavior that brings public disrepute, contempt, or scandal. A catastrophic, unforgivable personal scandal similar to Lance Armstrong's or any criminal allegation related to that or any other criminal allegation could trigger these clauses simultaneously across all sponsors. His off-court revenue stream would completely drop to zero, leaving the bondholders with no income stream to collect from, forcing them to pursue his personal assets, and by them meaning the two life insurance companies that picked up the bond debt. Then, number 4, we have a very toxic combination of post-career margin calls and tax audits. James enjoys massive tax advantages by borrowing against his wealth rather than selling assets now. It's the buy, borrow, die strategy that many people have mentioned so far. Debt is not taxed, but the moment you must sell an asset to pay off a defaulted loan, a massive capital gains tax is triggered. And because the $300 million is not taxed, there still is interest involved. So whether you want to call it tax or interest, it's not like it's just $300 million with nothing else attached to it. If lenders force LeBron James to sell off hundreds of millions of dollars in real estate or team equities to cover the bond default, the IRS would simultaneously hit him with a tax bill of up to 20 to 37% of those liquidated assets. He would be trapped in a vice where he would be paying off hundreds of millions to lenders while simultaneously owing tens of millions to the government with no active income to pay either one. I think the last chapter here of this worst case scenario is really a very underrated factor here, which is the severe illiquidity in a market crash. When this deal was done originally before he went to the Lakers, the Nike stock was approximately $80 to $85 a share. Over the next couple of years, it did rise and actually doubled to about $170 a share. But since that point, Nike stock has drastically dropped to under $40 a share, which is a big deal and puts the eyes on Nike as a potential corporate failure eventually, because things have not been going well for them at all. They're losing market share and they've made some mistakes in direct to consumer retail sales. So regarding the severe illiquidity in a severe market crash, the upfront $300 million was meant to be invested in high yield assets to outpace the 4.8% to 5.75% interest rates on the bonds that the insurance companies hold. If that cash was deployed into highly speculative, illiquid venture capital, tech startups, or commercial real estate right before an economic depression, that money is effectively trapped or gone, and any benefits would never be seen. So, worst case, he would be facing a bond repayment deadline during a global market crash, which certainly is in the cards right now. And then LeBron James would find himself asset rich and cash poor, unable to sell his home or business stakes in a frozen market. He would technically default on his cash obligations, forcing a legal insolvency process. Now, if I quickly move back to number 4 and the possibility of him violating a morals clause in his Nike contract, chapter 3, not 4. Let's remember that Chael Sonnen, ESPN commentator and MMA expert, remember he was the first to mention Lance Armstrong's drug use 2 years before he got into major trouble. And luck would certainly not be on LeBron's side if that were to hold true to Sonnen's allegations that he and LeBron used the same drug guy, and him knowing exactly what drug LeBron James is using. So a breach of that moral clause in the Nike contract would almost guarantee wipe him out, because then that would have a domino effect on his future earnings in any arena, whether it's business, sports, or whatever. So if we get a situation like that, plus a collapse of Nike, plus an economic collapse, which are all certainly possible and have noticeable high percentage chances of happening based on what's going on in the world, then he's in big trouble. So I just wanted to touch on some really important things regarding this loan and try to help people understand what's going on, and that it's not this quote-unquote genius move that everybody thinks if the world is moving toward economic collapse. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for this your attention to this special edition of Chase Profits, and wish you guys well. Talk soon.
Thank you for tuning into this special edition of Chase Profits, your top choice for market updates and chart analysis.